Welcome to the journey to discover one of the most chilling and unexplained mysteries in Canadian history. The story of the village of Angikuni that disappeared without trace. It seems like something out of a horror movie or an urban legend, but this strange event has shocked the world. A village with a large population suddenly became deserted, leaving no trace behind. Is this a mass disappearance, a supernatural phenomenon, or a secret that has been hidden for decades? Let's uncover this strange mystery together. Don't let the like button be lonely, don't let the share button wither, and don't let the subscribe button wait for you forever. Chapter 1. Prologue. Echoes from the frozen land. In the vast snowy fields where no one has ever set foot, where the wind howls day and night like ancient spirits whispering, there exists a hidden corner so cold that even the eyes of God seem to have forgotten. It was the Canadian far north, where the line between the real and the unexplainable was as thin as a breath in the icy air. There was a name whispered over hunters' campfires, told by the ancient Inuit people known as the Children of the Ice, Angikuni. A small, humble village nestled on the shores of frozen Angikuni Lake. A peaceful community that lived by hunting, fishing, and praying under the starry northern sky. But then, on a night no one could pinpoint the exact date, in the depths of the winter of 1930, the entire village disappeared. No screams for help, no signs of struggle, no blood, just empty tents, unfinished meals on tables, clothes hanging out to dry in the freezing winter air, as if the people had inexplicably evaporated into thin air. And strangely, it seems that nature itself, wind, snow, rocks, is also complicit in hiding the truth. The faint traces are swallowed by time, leaving behind fragments, painful questions that have never been answered for nearly a century. What happened at Angikuni? How could an entire community disappear so quietly, without a trace? Was this a terrible crime buried in ice and snow? Or was it the intervention of forces that humanity has not yet had the courage to name? We will turn the pages of old documents, listen to each time-warped story, and face terrifyingly bizarre possibilities, from violent natural disasters to the intervention of extraterrestrial intelligence. And on that journey, you, the reader, the explorer, will have to ask yourself, do we really know everything about the world we live in? Or are there still cold secrets waiting to be revealed under the thick ice of time? Prepare yourself, because once you step into the mystery of Angikuni, you will no longer see this world the same way. Chapter 2. Angikuni, the village in the middle of nowhere. If there is one place in the world that is destined to keep its secrets forever, it is the wilds of northern Canada. A world of endless white, where snow covers 8 or 9 months of a year, and where the cold winds cut into the skin like the sharp blades of fate. In the midst of that landscape, on the shores of Lake Angikuni, a long, cold stretch of frozen water, there once existed a small village. No map at the time recorded its exact coordinates. Even the name of Lake Angikuni is only a phonetic transcription from the Inuit language, with a vague meaning of where the spirits reside. The village, according to isolated accounts, was a traditional Inuit community, a hardy people who lived in harmony with nature, surviving the harshest winters imaginable. They hunted seals on the ice, fished in the holes drilled into the lake, and built sturdy huts from animal skins and whale bones. During the endless nights, they lit oil lamps made from seal fat, telling each other tales of a time when the world was in chaos and evil spirits still roamed among men. Angikuni was not a large village. There might be only 20 or 30 people, or a little more depending on the season. But it was a tight-knit community, where every living thing knew every other's name, where children's laughter echoed across the frozen lake, where every death was celebrated with a small funeral under the cold silver moonlight. Why here? The question naturally arose. A harsh stretch of land, far from any trade routes, vulnerable to blizzards. What had made them choose Angikuni Lake as their home? Perhaps, for the Inuit, the wild is not an enemy, but an ally. Perhaps, in that absolute isolation, they find peace, an ancient way of life, pure, untainted by the ambitions of the outside world. Or perhaps this village was built for a deeper reason, related to mystical beliefs that the modern world has forgotten. The worship of the spirits of the earth, the reverence for the invisible forces that rule the ice and the darkness. Angikuni is not like the other villages we usually imagine. There are no towering electric poles. There are no sturdy houses made of brick and stone. Only low huts made of wood, bone, and animal skin, huddled against the fury of nature. But even in its simplicity, the village exudes a strange beauty. When the scarce winter sunlight shines on the frozen lake, the entire landscape is bathed in a surreal, breathtakingly beautiful silvery blue. On clear nights, the Milky Way blazes across the sky, reflecting off the ice like a portal to another world. Occasionally, the aurora borealis dances overhead, casting a magical veil over the village, as if nature were singing to those patient enough to listen. But beauty comes at a price. In Angikuni, every winter is a battle for life and death. Sickness, hunger, hunting accidents, death comes silently, coldly, and sometimes unseen. But the people here are used to it. They understand that every breath they take is a victory. Every oil lamp lit is a declaration of war against the endless darkness. And then, one night, all the lights went out. No more children laughing. No more smoke rising from the tents. No more sled tracks on the ice. Just absolute silence. An emptiness so eerie that the sky held its breath. What had happened? Who? Or what could have caused such a hardy community to vanish without a trace? It was only when a man, a traveler named Joe LaBelle, stumbled across this dead land that the mystery of Angikuni was first brought into the dim light of the outside world. But that is a story for the next chapter. On a fateful night in 1930, Joe LaBelle entered Angikuni armed with a kerosene lamp, a rifle, and a growing fear. Little did he know that he was about to become the first witness to one of the most terrifying mysteries of the 20th century. Chapter 3. Inuit History, the Children of the Ice. To understand the mystery of Angikuni, we cannot look at the isolated events of one fateful night. We must trace the souls who lived, breathed, and fought there thousands of years ago. We must go deeper into the memories of the children of the ice, the Inuit. Who were these people, the souls who built Angikuni, only to one day vanish as if they had never existed? A people born of ice, the Inuit, more commonly known in history as Eskimos, are one of the most resilient peoples to have ever walked the earth. They are the descendants of ancient peoples who migrated from Siberia across the icy Bering Strait tens of thousands of years ago and spread out into the wildest lands of North America. While other civilizations chose fertile lands to cultivate and build cities, the Inuit chose to stay in the coldest, harshest places, the Arctic and subarctic regions. A place where winter not only lasts for months, but can also devour anyone who does not know how to live with it. Life in a frozen world. Faced with harsh natural conditions, the Inuit developed a near-perfect survival system. They built igloos out of ice and snow, magical structures that could keep the interior at a comfortable temperature despite outdoor temperatures as low as -40 degrees Celsius. They hunted seals, whales, and large fish, not only for food but also for their fat for heating, their skin for clothing, and their bones for tools and house frames. They traveled on dog sleds, which helped them cover vast distances covered in deep snow. Inuit culture is imbued with a sense of community. They understood that in the frozen land, an individual would quickly perish without the support of the collective. Therefore, all activities from hunting to building, from raising children to caring for the elderly, were organized on the principle of absolute mutual support. In the midst of an unforgiving nature, human love became the only light against the cold darkness. Beliefs and the spirit world. The Inuit did not just fight the cold. They also lived in a world of spirits. In their cosmology, every animal, every river, every wind had a separate spirit. These spirits needed to be respected, worshipped, and sometimes appeased. Shamans acted as intermediaries between humans and the invisible world. They performed rituals to ensure a successful hunting season, to cure diseases, and most importantly, to protect the community from angry spirits, entities that are believed to bring disease, death, and disappearances. Inuit folk tales often mention Kalapalik, a sea creature that can drag wayward children into the icy depths. Eerie, a shape-shifting entity that can lure people into eternal blizzards. Tornats, giant spirits that live in ice caves, sometimes angered when humans invade their sacred territory. Could it be that the disappearances at Angikuni were more than just random? Was it foretold in these chilling legends? Isolation from the outside world. In the early 20th century, when the Western world had entered the age of telegraphs, trains, and airplanes, many Inuit communities still maintained an ancient way of life, virtually unchanged for thousands of years. They did not record their history in writing. They passed on their knowledge through fireside stories, songs, and sacred ceremonies. So when the Angikuni incident occurred, there were no diaries, no records, no official accounts from insiders. There was only what outsiders, like Joe LaBelle, saw with their own eyes and what fishermen, hunters, and other explorers heard from thin word of mouth. A village with warnings? Some modern paranormal researchers believe that Angikuni was no normal village. According to these theories, Angikuni may have been built at a location considered by ancient Inuit to be a crossroads of worlds, a place where the veil between the world of the living and the spirit world is thinner than anywhere else. If that's true, then the village's disappearance may not have been a simple accident, a natural disaster, or a massacre. It may have been a revocation, when an entire community is swept away by some force beyond human understanding into another realm. Before Joe LaBelle entered Angikuni, the village lived, breathed, and dreamed in a world of ice and darkness. But when he arrived, there was an eerie silence, as if the entire past had been erased from the face of the earth. A dark question echoed across the endless snowfields. Where did the Inuit of Angikuni go? And why did they leave, if they did leave at all? Chapter 4. The story begins. The fateful night of 1930. It was a November night in 1930 when the skies of northern Canada were covered with thick black clouds, like a morning veil covering the white ground. The cold penetrated every layer of fur, penetrated to the marrow of the bones, forcing every living thing to seek shelter if it hoped to survive the night. In the vast sea of snow, a lone man trudged forward, Joe LaBelle, an experienced hunter who knew the harshness of the North better than anyone. He had crossed the desolate snowfields for many winters and had heard the howling wind as the wailing of lost souls. But that night, something was different. A strange feeling silently clung to Joe, as if invisible eyes were following his every step. Joe was not a man who was easily haunted, but the silence that hung over the land that night was not a natural silence. It was an imposed silence, heavy and ominous, as if the world had held its breath, waiting for something terrible to happen. A distant light of hope. As Joe LaBelle groped his way through the dim light of a small oil lamp, he saw something unexpected. In the distance, through the thick snow, a cluster of shadowy shapes emerged, small structures rising from the white ground. A village. Joe's heart beat faster. He knew Inuit villages dotted the north, and their presence on a cold winter night like this could be a blessing, shelter, a hot meal, and friendly faces. He quickened his pace, his boots clicking on the hard ice. The oil lamp flickered in his hand, casting dancing ghosts on the snow. As he got closer, Joe felt more uneasy. No lights from the tents. No dogs barking to greet strangers. No smoke rising from the low chimneys. Only the dark tents, standing still like cold tombstones in the pale moonlight. A dead village. Joe stopped at the edge of the village, a chill running down his spine. The wind whistled through the cracks of the abandoned tents, making a muffled howl like a distant wail. He called out, "Is anyone here?" Only the wind answered. Joe walked deeper into the village. The tent doors flapped in the wind. He reached out and gently pushed one open. It swung open, revealing an empty tent. Inside, the furniture was still intact. Animal skins spread out on the ice. Hunting tools were neatly stacked in the corner. A pot of fish soup had gone cold on the stove, still smelling musty. Everything looked as if its owner had left in a hurry, but never returned. Joe went from one hut to another. The same thing. Food uneaten, coats still hanging on hangers. Even the precious hunting weapons, something the Inuit never parted with, had been left behind. No signs of a fight, no blood, no bodies. They were just gone, completely, silently, eerily cleanly. A chilling clue. Joe LaBelle began searching for clues. He hoped to see footprints, ski tracks leading away from the village, anything to explain what had happened. But beyond the wind whipping the powdery snow and the blotches, there was nothing. No trace had left the village. On the northern edge of the settlement, Joe found another strange sight. The traditional Inuit graves had been dug up. The mounds of stones stacked over the corpses had been knocked over, and the graves were empty. Who, or what, had dug up these graves? And why? Joe LaBelle, who had faced polar bears and fierce blizzards, suddenly found himself shaking. Not from cold, but from fear. A primal, instinctive fear, as if he had just entered a cursed land. Desperately resolved, unable to linger any longer, Joe LaBelle left the dead village, resuming his journey through the bitter night. He headed straight for the nearest telegraph station, a dozen miles away in the harsh conditions, to send an urgent message to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. The message was brief, but terrifying. Absolutely abandoned Inuit village found near Lake Angikuni. Strange signs. Urgent assistance needed. Joe LaBelle had done everything he could, but he had no idea that the event he had just discovered would be more than a simple disappearance. It would become a dark legend, a never-ending tear in the mysterious map of the world. A mystery that to this day, nearly a century later, remains unexplained. Chapter 5. The official investigation, the last traces. News of the missing village near Angikuni Lake spread like wildfire through the frozen Canadian North. Less than a day after receiving Joe LaBelle's telegram, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, the so-called Wilderness Guardians, deployed a special investigation team to the scene. They brought tents, supplies, weapons, in a clear order. Find out what happened and solve the mystery no matter what. A journey into the unknown. The team was led by veteran Corporal Sergeant Alan Tate, who had more than 20 years of experience tackling wilderness mysteries. He was joined by 4 others, 2 police officers, a tracker hunter, and an Arctic ecologist. As they entered the Angikuni area, the weather had turned bitterly cold. The wind howled through the bare trees, whipping the thin layer of snow into tiny whirlwinds. The group moved slowly, cautiously, like intruders into a world where humans were no longer welcome. The air was heavy with an inexplicable strangeness. Even the crows, a common sight in the northern skies, were absent. First discovery, strange remains. Upon arrival, the scene described by Joe LaBelle was confirmed. The Inuit village, once bustling with laughter, barking dogs, and hammers on wood, was now a cold, empty structure, standing silent as silent witnesses. Sergeant Tate ordered the group to split into 2 teams. One team searched each hut carefully. The other team searched the surrounding area for clues. The results were chilling. Personal belongings were still in place. Stone knives, flutes, and half-eaten food bowls. Heavy winter clothing, essential in the freezing weather, had been left unattended. Shooting guns and spears were still stuck to their racks, never moved. No Inuit would leave their homes without weapons like that. Tate noted in his notebook, grimacing. This is completely absurd. But that wasn't the strangest thing. The creepy clue, starved sled dogs. Out on the outskirts of the village, the team discovered a horrifying sight. 7 sled dogs were dead, their bodies stiff from hunger and cold, half buried under a thin layer of snow. The strange thing was that food and water were not in short supply around the village. Traces of prey were scattered about, which raises a terrifying question. If the villagers had left the village in such a hurry, Why hadn't they taken their sled dogs, their most precious survival asset? And if they were only leaving temporarily, why did they leave their loyal animals to starve before their eyes? Sergeant Tate himself felt a vague fear rising in his heart. The strange ice hole in the middle of the lake. Continuing their investigation, the RCMP team reached the surface of Angikuni Lake. Here, they discovered another unusual detail, a large ice hole showing signs of having been hastily and roughly carved open. Remarkably, there were no footprints around the mouth of the hole, only light skidding marks on the frozen snow. They shined their flashlights below. All they saw was endless, cold darkness. Who or what had dug this hole? And for what purpose? No one in the team had an answer. Sergeant Tate added another entry to his diary. There is no sign of leaving the village on foot or in a vehicle. No blood, no violent disturbance. They just vanished. Unanswered questions. For 3 days, the RCMP camped on the edge of the village, continuing to search every nook and cranny. They examined the dug-up graves, taking notes, measuring, photographing. Each new discovery deepened the mystery. If there had been an attacker, how could they have caused the entire village to disappear without a trace? If the villagers had left on their own, why hadn't they taken any essentials with them? And the disturbed graves, who or what had dug them up? Why had all the food, clothing, and transportation been left behind? The absurdities piled up, like pieces of a puzzle that became increasingly distorted as they were put together. Finally, an unbelievable report. After a week, the investigation team was forced to withdraw due to increasingly severe weather conditions. In the official report sent to the center, Sergeant Tate concluded, "There is no evidence of an attack from outside. No signs of violence. The reason for the disappearance of the villagers cannot be determined. The mystery remains unsolved." The report was stamped complete, but everyone in the group knew. The Angikuni case would never be truly closed. However, the case did not stop there, because soon after those reports were sent, the strange story of Angikuni began to spread beyond the borders of Canada and touch the imagination of the world. A mystery, a curse, was born from that dark night, and it would never rest. Chapter 6. Rumors Spread, the First Conspiracy Theories. When the official report from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, was sealed and filed away in cold storage, they thought the case would fade into oblivion like so many other mysteries of the wild north. They were wrong. In fact, the story of the vanishing village at Angikuni Lake was just beginning its ghostly journey. Tavern Whispers. The first news of the case did not come from the mainstream press. It began as whispers in taverns in Manitoba and the fringes of Nunavut, places where hunters, traders, and fur traders congregated after long journeys. The stories were told. An Inuit village vanished without a trace. Sled dogs starved to death outside the village. Ancient graves disturbed. Strange skid marks on the ice. And the silhouettes of flying lights appeared in the night sky before they disappeared. Each story was embellished, twisted, and given new layers of color, like thick snow that had been deposited over many winters. And then, a terrifying word began to appear in the conversation. Aliens. First, alien theory. In 1930, the concept of UFOs, unidentified flying objects, was not yet popular. However, in the harsh and isolated land of northern Canada, strange lights in the sky were not uncommon. A self-proclaimed witness, Mr. Thomas Angiluk, an Inuit hunter who lived about 40 miles from Angikuni, recounted, "I saw a pale blue light floating over the lake that night. It was not the northern lights. It was not a shooting star. It stood still, then disappeared." Thomas asserted that the light was accompanied by a soft hum, as if something were tearing the air apart. Others told of humanoid shadows gliding silently through the trees, leaving only a faint trail of cold air. These stories sowed the seeds of a terrifying theory. The entire village had been abducted by extraterrestrials. The teleportation theory. Another bizarre theory quickly emerged. Space teleportation. It was rumored that the land around Angikuni Lake might be one of the magnetic hotspots, places where space and time warp in incomprehensible ways. Some semi-orthodox psychic researchers claimed the slip marks around the lake indicate a sudden change in gravity. Perhaps a space portal opened, swallowing the entire village into another dimension. It sounds like science fiction, but for those who have faced the strangeness of the Arctic, nothing is impossible. Ghosts of the North. In addition to modern theories, ancient Inuit legends were quickly invoked. Some elders recounted stories of Tornarsuk, large, dark spirits that abducted the living at night. According to legend, Tornarsuk were beings between life and death, never satisfied with the world they roamed. Had the Angikuni villagers accidentally awakened something ancient and dangerous? Had a curse been activated? The stories were tightly woven together, like ghostly threads that no one could untangle. The press hype. By the end of 1930, the first local newspaper reported briefly on the incident. Soon after, larger newspapers such as the Winnipeg Tribune and the Toronto Star jumped in to exploit it. Each article added a little. One said that people saw pillars of light falling from the sky before the disappearance. Another claimed that there was a strange, echoing sound coming from underground. One said that the entire village had seen a huge black shadow moving across the sky like a living creature. Fact? Fiction? No one knows. What is known is that the more people wrote about it, the more horrifying it became. A mysterious fever was born. By early 1931, the Angikuni case had spread across North America. It was discussed on radio shows, in paranormal magazines, and even became the subject of a series of haunted studies. Alien hunters, occult groups, adventurers, all turned their curious eyes to the icy lake. Angikuni is no longer a forgotten village. It has become a living legend, a terrifying crack in the veil of reality. But as conspiracy theories and rumors swirl like a blizzard, another question begins to arise. Did the story of Angikuni really happen as it is told? Or is it the result of a series of misunderstandings, exaggerations, and polar fears? Chapter 7. Doubtful evidence. Fact or myth? As Angikuni fever spread across Canada and across the seas to Europe, another wave quietly emerged. This wave was not as flashy or exciting as the alien or interdimensional conspiracy theories. It was quiet, cold, and most dangerous of all, skeptical. Some journalists, historians, and independent researchers began to wonder, did the story of the village disappearing at Lake Angikuni really happen? Or was it just a shadow woven from fear, imagination, and rumor? The first crack: inconsistencies in the report. When the investigators reviewed the original documents, they realized a suspicious fact. There was no official RCMP report on the Angikuni incident in 1930. The Ottawa RCMP archives were completely blank on the incident. The only records that appeared were vague reports in a few local newspapers, which were notorious for adding embellishments to sell papers. The RCMP even issued an official statement in 1959. There is no record of an entire Inuit village disappearing at Angikuni Lake. All the information surrounding this incident is completely inaccurate and probably the product of imagination. A heavy blow to the hearts of those who believe the story. Original source confusion. But where did the story come from? When tracing back, many researchers found the name Emmett E. Kelleher, a sensationalist journalist for the Danville Bee. On November 27, 1930, Kelleher published a short article describing the journey of Hunter Joe LaBelle, the man who supposedly discovered the abandoned village. The strange thing is, there are no records confirming the existence of a Joe LaBelle in the Angikuni area at that time. Kelleher's story has many internal contradictions. The number of missing people, the condition of the village, the strange signs around. Slowly, people began to realize perhaps the entire Angikuni story originated from a newspaper article, not entirely accurate. Explorers visit Angikuni. In the late 1930s, fascinated by the mystery, a small expedition decided to go to Angikuni Lake to investigate. They brought with them cameras, magnetometers, ethnologists who spoke Inuit. The result? They found some old tent ruins, exactly what you would expect from a traditional Inuit campsite. There was no sign of a large village, no traces of excavated graves, or strange skid marks on the ice. What they found most, ironically, was the absolute silence of the polar landscape. New evidence or old joke? In 1956, at a paranormal conference in Montreal, a man who called himself a former RCMP officer stood up and declared, "I witnessed the Angikuni incident. We were ordered to cover up the truth." But when asked for evidence, he could not provide papers, photos, or any documents. And strangely enough, he disappeared from Montreal the next morning, never to be found. Some people believe that this is just another hoax to heat up the popularity of the incident. Distorted truths. Some details of the Angikuni story, such as the sled dogs starving to death or the grave being dug up, when reanalyzed in the light of science, have very mundane explanations. In the Arctic, it is not uncommon for sled dogs to die of cold or starvation during the winter. Traditional Inuit graves, marked only by stones, can easily be destroyed by tornadoes or wild animals. These ordinary phenomena, when told through layers of oral tradition, have become supernatural signs in the eyes of listeners. Questions remain. However, despite many doubts and counter-arguments, the Angikuni case has never been erased from the public mind, in part because the absolute isolation of this area makes it extremely difficult to verify the truth. The story has a strange appeal, tapping into the most instinctive fear of humans: unexplained disappearance. To this day, Angikuni remains somewhere on the thin line, an unsolved mystery or a clever fabrication. But the biggest question remains: if Angikuni is just a figment of the imagination, why have so many strange phenomena been reported around the lake in the decades since? Chapter 8. The mysterious phenomena continue. The ghost of Angikuni refuses to sleep. If the story of the disappearance of Angikuni were just a legend, if it were just a product of imagination and press hype, then it should have ended long ago. But it wasn't. In fact, in the years that followed, this cold lake continued to witness a series of mysterious phenomena that made it impossible to easily dismiss suspicion. It was as if Angikuni, real or not, had left an invisible rift in the peaceful fabric of this world. The nameless lights. Throughout the 1940s and 1950s, many hunters, tourists, and even RCMP members stationed in Nunavut reported faint lights hovering in the night sky, holuses moving against the wind. The glowing objects streaked across the lake at incredible speeds. Some witnesses described they were not like the northern lights. They did not sparkle, they did not flash. They moved purposefully, as if they were searching for something. An Inuit hunter named Nukapak recounted in 1947, "I saw 3 balls of light lined up horizontally, drifting close to the surface of the water. They made a buzzing sound, like a bee but deeper. Then they all disappeared in a flash, leaving no trace." It is noteworthy that these lights often appeared near the area where the Angikuni village was believed to have existed. Underground sounds. In 1962, a geological survey team passed through the Angikuni area in search of mineral deposits. On a cold March night, while the group was camping on the shore of the lake, they noted strange buzzing sounds coming from underground. The gentle vibrations caused the snow to fall from the branches. The sound was like a drumbeat reverberating under the frozen lake. A geological engineer named Frank Bernard recorded, "The frequency of the sound was so low that it could be felt through the soles of the feet. It was like the breathing of a giant animal trapped under the ice." Although later explanations, such as natural geological phenomena, ice cracks, or shifting ice sheets were given, the strange feelings still haunted those present that day for many years. The vague figures. A few brave visitors to Angikuni Lake in the late 20th century reported more eerie phenomena. Shadows of people standing silently among the trees at dusk. Whispering voices echoing across the frozen lake. The feeling of being watched even when no one is around. In 1989, a group of amateur explorers captured a strange videotape while filming the lake at dusk. a shadowy figure briefly passed between two trees. When the footage was zoomed in, the figure looked like an Inuit in traditional dress. But the feet, strangely, did not touch the ground. Although the quality of the videotape was poor, it was enough to prompt the explorers to leave Angikuni that night. Modern investigations. In the 2000s, several international paranormal research teams visited Angikuni with modern equipment. Electromagnetic radiation meters, gravity sensors, low-frequency recording devices. The results? Anomalous magnetic field fluctuations were recorded around the center of the lake. The low-frequency sounds, similar to those reported in 1962, persisted. Air pressure readings changed suddenly for no reason. An expert commented, "The Angikuni area is like a land of phase difference, where the normal laws of physics seem to operate differently." Although there is no evidence to confirm the intervention of supernatural forces, these data only add to the mystery surrounding Angikuni Lake. The ghost of Angikuni, an indelible symbol. Although nearly a century has passed since the story was first told, the name Angikuni still evokes a strange chill in the hearts of those who hear it. Has the disappearance of the village left a scar in the fabric of reality? An unfillable void where memories, souls, and darkness are forever entwined? Or is Angikuni simply a testament to the magical power of the human imagination, which can turn a small dot on the map into an immortal legend? The answer, like the frozen lake itself, remains silent in the cold darkness. But another question arises. Are there other mysterious disappearances in these remote, desolate lands? Or is Angikuni just a small part of a larger picture of the world's unsolved mysteries? Chapter 9. Other mysterious disappearances in the north. Angikuni is just the beginning. While the light of Angikuni still flickers in the memories of mystery lovers, another chilling truth gradually emerges. Angikuni is not alone. Spreading across Canada's northern reaches, from the White Mountains of the Yukon to the frozen plains of Nunavut, mysterious disappearances have been occurring for a long time, silent, sparse, but as persistent as the icy pulse of the land itself. Perhaps Angikuni is just the first in a long line of ghost lights stretching endlessly across the frozen wilderness. The hunter who disappeared in the mist, 1932. Just 2 years after Angikuni, another strange disappearance occurred not far away. A skilled Inuit hunter, Ikaluk, renowned in the region for his ability to read animal tracks like a book, vanished without a trace. That day, the weather was clear, the sky was blue. Ikaluk carried a hunting rifle, a fur coat, and 3 days' worth of food. He left camp in the morning, heading for the clearing. The villagers saw him disappear behind the trees and never returned. As the search party followed the footprints, they said, Ikaluk's tracks continued, and then abruptly ended in the middle of the forest, as if he had evaporated into thin air. There was no blood, no sign of a struggle, no trace of wild animals or of avalanches. Just a heavy silence, as if the forest had swallowed the experienced hunter in an instant. The vanishing caravan at Nahanni, 1936. There's another place in Canada's northern hemisphere that bears the nickname the Valley of the Headless Heads, Nahanni Valley. In 1936, a 6-man caravan decided to cross the land in search of gold. They set out amid laughter, promises of treasure, and the prospect of riches. But they never reached their destination. When the rescue party arrived, they discovered the makeshift camp was intact. The furniture, food, and weapons were intact, but there was no trace of any of the members. Even more bizarre, several fur hats were found hanging from tree branches, so high they could not be reached without a ladder. While investigating, one of the searchers claimed to have heard a faint call in the mist, in a language no one recognized. To this day, the Nahanni Valley is still warned by the locals. There are places where men should not set foot. The Lost Plane, 1950. In November 1950, a U.S. Air Force C-54 Skymaster took off from Alaska, intending to fly over the Yukon. On board, 44 passengers and crew. All were military and engineers. Midway through the flight, the control tower received a radio signal. "We're having trouble." "No, wait, there's something out there." Then, absolute silence. A massive search operation was launched. 85 aircraft, 7,000 people, more than 400,000 square kilometers were searched. The result? Not a single piece of wreckage was found. No trace, no distress signal, no sign of an accident. It was as if the Skymaster and the 44 people on board had been erased from the world in a single breath. The creepy commonalities. As mystery investigators compiled the disappearances in the north, a common denominator began to emerge. Location: cold, desolate wilderness, far from any human settlements. The conditions: perfect weather, no natural reason to justify the disappearance. The signs: sudden cessation of tracks, personal belongings intact, no struggle, no blood. And always, after all, the oppressive silence. As if the earth itself had swallowed them whole without explanation. Was there something guarding them? A dark theory is emerging in the circles of the mysterious explorers. Maybe the North is not simply a wasteland, but a portal to another reality, guarded by entities we have never understood. The indigenous Inuit have long told tales of shadowless creatures floating in the mists, enchanting calls, luring travelers away from safe paths, doors of light opening on moonless nights. We do not yet know what these legends are, but when your eyes wander into the mists of the North, you will understand. There are mysteries deeper than words can reach. If Angikuni is just the beginning, what is really at work in the darkness of the frozen North? Chapter 10. Creepy theories. Aliens, space portals, or something else? After decades of strange disappearances and paranormal phenomena around Angikuni Lake and other remote Canadian locations, one big question has to be asked. Is there something supernatural at work? Or is there an undiscovered phenomenon that allows people to disappear without a trace? While many still believe in scientific explanations, that the missing people may have been attacked by wild animals or crashed and drowned in snow, mystery lovers lean toward more exotic theories. Let's take a look at some of the most popular and creepy theories. Theory 1. Aliens, abductees from space. One of the most mysterious and widely discussed theories is that these disappearances are related to aliens. You may have heard stories of strange flights, lights in the sky, and even strange figures appearing around Angikuni and other cold lands. Could they be traces of beings from outer space, experimenting or abducting humans? There are those who believe that aliens may be sending signals to Earth through strange lights that people have recorded. Unidentified flying objects, UFOs, may have landed in this area to collect information or test advanced technologies. Disappearances without a trace may be due to these beings abducting people or taking them to other places in the universe. Many also cite the WOW signal, an unexplained signal from space, as evidence that Earth may have attracted the attention of an alien race. Some UFO researchers believe that Angikuni may be just one of the hotspots where aliens have chosen to test or probe Earth. So the disappearance of this village may not be a random event, but part of a larger plan by aliens. Theory 2. Space portals, entrance to another world. Another creepy theory is that these disappearances may be related to space portals, holes in space and time that physicists are still studying. The area around Angikuni, with its strange features such as unusual magnetic fluctuations and unexplained energy fluctuations, has led many to question whether a space portal or hole in space-time has opened up and swallowed up innocent people. Explorers say that while they were searching for strange traces, they felt like they were entering another dimension. There were phenomena, such as the sky suddenly brightening or objects floating, which made them think about potential gateways between dimensions. Believers of this theory believe that this area could be a temporary window in space, opening a passage to another world, perhaps a parallel dimension or a completely different universe. The missing people, according to this theory, were sucked into the space portal and could not return. Hypothesis 3. Mysterious energy from the ground. In addition to theories related to aliens and space portals, another notable theory is the mysterious energy from the ground. Paranormal researchers believe that the Angikuni Lake area and the surrounding lands may be located on a special energy circuit or contain a strange mineral that can affect the human mind and body. Some believe that this energy can weaken people's cognitive abilities, causing them to lose the ability to distinguish reality or be drawn into a trance. The strange traces found around the disappearance area may be a sign of an inexplicable energy that causes missing people to never return. Perhaps this area has a mysterious attraction that causes those who enter it to gradually lose their sanity and disappear into nothingness. Hypothesis 4. A natural phenomenon that science cannot explain. Finally, many believe that the disappearances in Angikuni and the surrounding areas may simply be a natural phenomenon that science cannot yet fully explain. Some scientific theories suggest that extreme weather events, such as cold fronts or specialized phenomena, may have altered human behavior and caused people to become confused or disoriented. In addition, there are theories that magnetic fields or underground electric currents may have affected electronic equipment, disrupting communications and preventing expeditions from finding the missing people. Still, an unanswered question. Despite the myriad of theories, one thing remains in the doi. No one can give a satisfactory explanation for these mysterious disappearances. Are Angikuni and its strange disappearances the result of paranormal phenomena that science cannot explain, or supernatural events happening right under our noses, but no one can see them? One thing is certain. The disappearance of people at Angikuni is not the end. We still do not understand all the mysteries it is hiding. So, the mysteries of Angikuni may just be part of a larger picture where strange phenomena continue to occur. Can these questions ever be answered, or will they remain in the dark forever? Chapter 11. Angikuni and the Unusual Signs. Is there a final solution? The disappearance of Angikuni has left a mark on the minds of those who are passionate about exploring and researching mysterious phenomena. However, even after more than a century, the question, why did the village disappear, has not been satisfactorily answered. All attempts at explanation only touch the surface of a much deeper mystery. But amid the darkness and silence, have we missed a sign, a small clue that could lead to the truth? Let's continue to analyze the unusual signs surrounding this event and see if there is a final solution to this strange disappearance. 1. Unusual signs in the explorers' reports. Explorations and searches around the Angikuni area have been going on for decades. However, even when rescue teams were involved, they encountered strange phenomena that could not be explained. Witnessing mysterious lights. One of the most notable reports was from a group of explorers in the 1950s when they approached the area around Lake Angikuni. According to the expedition team, on a dark night, they saw a strange light, like a bright ball, flying across the sky. As they got closer, the light suddenly turned off and disappeared, leaving no trace. It may be just a rare natural phenomenon, but with the mysterious setting of Angikuni, this light makes many people think of UFOs or supernatural events that science cannot explain. Strange changes in the sky. Another report from local people tells of a strange phenomenon in the sky in the Angikuni area. One night, when there were no clouds, the sky suddenly turned red, then returned to normal in just a few minutes. This made them think of magnetic waves or some extraterrestrial influence. Could these changes be related to the disappearance of the village? 2. Similar events and traces in other areas. Here is a little-known fact. The disappearances and mysterious phenomena do not only occur in Angikuni. Other wilderness areas in northern Canada, and even in other areas of North America, have similar unexplained events. Other villages that disappear. One example is the village of Shishmaref in the Alaska region. In 1955, the entire village suddenly disappeared without a trace, without leaving any reasonable explanation. Only personal items were found, but no trace of the residents. Although there are many theories, from natural disasters to kidnappings, the case remains inconclusive, just like Angikuni. Bermuda area. Is there a connection? Many researchers believe that the strange events at Angikuni may have a connection to the Bermuda Triangle, famous for the mysterious disappearances of ships and planes. Both areas are difficult to access, with extreme weather events and magnetic changes that can affect electronic devices. It is possible that Angikuni and places like the Bermuda Triangle are located on special energy circuits where space and time can be distorted. 3. Local accounts. While the reports from explorers are important, there is one source of information that is worth noting: the accounts of indigenous peoples. The Inuit, who live in northern Canada and Alaska, have lived in these areas for thousands of years. They have a deep understanding of the land and its strange natural phenomena that outsiders cannot know. They have folk tales about ancestral spirits, guardian deities of the area, and supernatural phenomena that occur at night. In some stories, the Inuit tell of strange creatures that appear on moonless nights, silently watching over passers-by in the dark. Could it be that these spirits are protecting something deep within the earth? 4. Notable scientific hypotheses. While the paranormal theories are fascinating, science also has interesting explanations for this strange event. Geomagnetic waves. Some scientists believe that the Angikuni region may be an area with a special magnetic field. The change in a magnetic field can cause strange effects, such as uncontrolled behavior or disorientation of people passing through. Some physicists believe that geomagnetic waves may have changed the direction of people's movements, causing them to enter dangerous areas without their awareness. The black hole theory. A rather strange scientific hypothesis involves black holes. Researchers propose that the Angikuni region may be near a small hollow in space where strong gravity can pull things in, similar to the way black holes work in the universe. 5. Can we find an answer? With all the signs of despite the usual and mysterious theories, the final question remains: can we find an explanation for the disappearance of Angikuni village? Since the day the disappearance occurred, many people have tried to explain it, but until now, everything is like a key that has not opened the door. Maybe the truth has been buried under the thick layers of snow of time. Maybe Angikuni is just a part of a larger mystery that humanity is not yet capable of fully understanding. And maybe, until humans find new technologies and methods, Angikuni will forever be an unanswered question. So the story of Angikuni is not yet closed. But will anyone be brave enough to return and search for more clues in the cold of northern Canada? This chapter will open a new perspective on how this event affects the modern world and whether it could be a warning for us in the future. Chapter 12. Angikuni. A shadow of the past or a reminder for the future. Decades have passed since the disappearance of Angikuni, but this story continues to haunt us and make us ask profound questions about the unexplained mysteries and undiscovered things in the world around us. Certainly, in this technological age, when humans can conquer space and conduct deep explorations of the ocean floor, we still have to face mysteries that science cannot explain. And perhaps Angikuni is a lesson not only of the past, but also a reminder for the future. 1. Angikuni, a shadow of a forgotten past. Looking at the story of Angikuni, we cannot help but feel a sense of great oblivion. A vibrant village, a community that may have existed for centuries, suddenly disappeared without a trace. The people of the village, the signs of culture and life here, are now just a faint shadow in history. So, can we find what remains of the past? Or is the disappearance of Angikuni just the last chapter in a story that will never end? Archaeological research. Traces may have been buried. One of the recent efforts to unravel the mystery of Angikuni has been the conduct of archaeological research. Archaeologists have attempted to locate the village, collect soil samples, and search for any traces that might shed light on the disappearance. However, the results they received were mostly uncertain information, or there was not enough evidence to draw any conclusions. Some researchers believe that changes in the natural environment, especially the climate fluctuations of the Arctic region, may have destroyed the traces of the village. This makes us wonder, if not for natural factors, could humans have overlooked valuable clues simply because they did not pay enough attention? 2. Angikuni, a warning for the modern world? Although this story may seem far-fetched and vague, if we take it seriously, we cannot deny that Angikuni is a warning for the modern world. In a world that is increasingly disconnected from nature, we can be caught up in a fast-paced and insensitive life, where strange and unusual signals can easily be ignored or dismissed as myths. However, Angikuni's story underscores something very important. We cannot ignore phenomena we do not fully understand. Environmental disasters and natural imbalances. In recent years, the world has witnessed many climate change events and environmental disasters that have had a profound impact on communities living in remote areas. One of the prominent theories about Angikuni's disappearance is that an unusual change in the natural environment could have caused psychological effects or disorientation. Scientists are now studying how climate change and magnetic fields can affect ecosystems and human behavior. Some theories suggest that changes in air currents and strong winds could have led to disorientation and caused people to disappear without explanation. So could Angikuni just be a warning about the unpredictable changes of our planet? Could the future of deserted areas, where people can live and interact with nature, face uncontrollable changes like this? 3. Untold stories, the future, and endless curiosity. Angikuni is not just a story about the disappearance of a village. It is also a symbol of human curiosity, an invitation for us to continue searching and discovering things that science cannot explain. The existence of supernatural phenomena is not something strange in human history. In every culture, every era, people have faced unexplainable mysteries. And perhaps, in the future, events like Angikuni will not just be legendary stories, but valuable lessons for future generations. The world is changing. Are we ready? We are living in a world where technology is constantly developing. From advances in space exploration to rapid information connectivity, the modern world is in a period of profound change. However, Angikuni's story makes us rethink our respect for nature and our ability to perceive things we do not fully understand. Could the mysteries we are trying to solve be part of a larger threat we cannot foresee? And could Angikuni serve as a reminder of the future, that there are things beyond our control? 4. Angikuni, part of an unfinished story. Ultimately, the disappearance of Angikuni is not just a story of the past, but part of a larger program of our understanding of the world. Regardless of whether any theory is right or wrong, Angikuni remains an unsolved mystery, a point of inevitability as we move forward into the future. We may never know the complete truth about the disappearance of this village, but can we continue our quest for truth in the mysteries that the world still hides? Angikuni, unanswered questions and remaining mysteries. In this chapter, we will look back at the unanswered questions and proven hypotheses and mysteries that make the story of Angikuni so captivating, even after so much time has passed. Chapter 13, Angikuni, Unanswered Questions and Remaining Mysteries. The story of Angikuni Village remains one of the great unsolved mysteries in modern history. Despite many hypotheses, many investigations, and different explanations, the questions related to the disappearance of the village have not been fully answered. This is a story where each question only leads to a new turn, opening up more paths of discovery rather than providing a clear conclusion. So, why can Angikuni make people so confused? The answer may lie in the gaps in information, vague clues, and unexplored gaps. 1. Unanswered questions. There are questions that have haunted those who have studied this story, and to this day, they have not been satisfactorily answered. Here are some of the most prominent ones. Why is there no trace of war or natural disaster? One of the strangest things about the disappearance of Angikuni Village is that the people disappeared without a trace. There was no sign of natural disaster, such as a flood, earthquake, or tsunami, nor was there any recorded armed attack or war in the area during that time. Researchers had expected to find some traces of conflict or natural disaster in the wilderness, but in fact there was nothing. The village seemed to have disappeared in silence, without a sound, without a sign. How long did the disappearance take? Another question that few can answer with certainty is when the village actually disappeared. While reports suggest that the village may have been gone for weeks or even months before it was discovered, no one can pinpoint exactly when it happened. It is possible that the villagers left long ago without a trace. But why is there no information about their disappearance from previous sources? Could the villagers have left voluntarily? A prominent theory is that the villagers may have left voluntarily for reasons that we do not yet know. But if they did, why did they leave no trace, information, or any explanation for their sudden departure? No one knows where they went, and no one from the outside has found them for many years. 2. Vague clues. Even without a definitive answer, we can still find clues from reports and expeditions that have taken place over the years. These clues are not enough to build a complete theory, but they are still of considerable value in expanding our understanding of this strange event. Signs of strange creatures. In some reports, there are accounts of searchers finding strange tracks around the Angikuni area. These include large footprints that do not resemble any known animal in the area. Some people even say they encountered a strange creature in the area, resembling an alien. While these may be just rumors or legends, they do suggest a theory. Could some mysterious creature have visited or lived in this area and possibly had something to do with the disappearance of the village? Unexplained signals. During later expeditions, some explorers reported strange signals appearing in the area. Sometimes, they heard strange sounds echoing from the surrounding areas, like the noises of strange creatures or even invisible signals that they could not explain. Are these signals a sign of the existence of an extraterrestrial force or a supernatural phenomenon that we cannot explain? 3. Unproven hypotheses. Several emerging hypotheses have been put forward to explain the disappearance of Angikuni. However, they have never been fully proven and remain hypotheses based on vague clues. Alien intervention. One of the interesting and curious hypotheses related to the disappearance of Angikuni is the hypothesis of alien intervention. Stories of UFOs and extraterrestrials have appeared in many reports from explorers, especially when they mention strange phenomena around this area. If the disappearances were indeed related to extraterrestrial intervention, it is possible that they came to study or even communicate with the natives before they disappeared completely. The existence of a space-time hole. A hypothesis others have suggested that a space-time rift may have formed in the Angikuni area, causing the inhabitants to disappear into another dimension. According to this hypothesis, the area may lie at an intersection of energy lines where space and time do not obey the usual laws. 4. Lingering mysteries. Angikuni in popular culture. Although the truth about Angikuni village has not been revealed, its story has become an indispensable part of popular culture. From documentaries to literary works, Angikuni has become a symbol of unexplained events and mysteries that humans have yet to fully understand. 5. Provisional conclusion. The story of Angikuni may never be fully and accurately explained, but each question, each clue, and each hypothesis contributes to clarifying a little bit about this mystery. Perhaps the disappearance of Angikuni is just part of humanity's long journey in searching for the truth and exploring the hidden corners that modern science cannot explain. So, will we ever truly find the answer to this mystery? Or will Angikuni forever remain one of those mystical stories that can only exist in the human imagination? The story of Angikuni may not be over, but will future generations be able to discover the truth behind it? The lasting influence of Angikuni on paranormal studies. This chapter will expand on the influence of the Angikuni story in the fields of paranormal and scientific studies, as well as explore the impact this mystery has had on later generations of researchers. Chapter 14. The lasting influence of Angikuni on paranormal studies. The mystery of Angikuni has left a deep mark on paranormal studies. especially in areas that science has not yet fully explained. Therefore, this story is not just a story of disappearance, but also a challenge to researchers and a never-ending journey in the search for truth. Certainly, although the clues and hypotheses related to Angikuni may not be completely accurate, its impact on paranormal studies is still great. The questions and curiosities that this story has created have not stopped and may continue to haunt future researchers. 1. Angikuni, an inspiration for paranormal research. The story of Angikuni Village has become an endless source of inspiration for researchers in the paranormal fields, from the supernatural to the unexplained phenomena. Unanswered questions such as, why did the village disappear without a trace? Or, is there a force behind this event? Have fueled many discussions about concepts that science has not been able to prove. Research on paranormal phenomena. One of the strongest impacts of the Angikuni story on paranormal research is the attraction of paranormal researchers. Many hypotheses have been put forward, from a village being influenced by extraterrestrial forces to the possibility of space-time loopholes. Paranormal researchers have searched for traces of paranormal phenomena around this area. Some have speculated that the village's disappearance may be related to UFO sightings or supernatural forces that humans cannot explain. Those who study unexplained events have found in this story an important piece in the search for answers to the larger mysteries of the universe, exploring paranormal traces and messages from the past. Another line of research that has opened up is the search for paranormal traces related to ancient civilizations. Perhaps the disappearance of Angikuni Village is not only a story of human disappearance, but also part of a message from the past that we cannot understand. Some researchers believe that ancient cultures may have left behind secret traces that modern humans have not yet been able to fully discover. 2. Angikuni in scientific research. Although the story of Angikuni is often mentioned in paranormal studies, it has also had a significant impact on mainstream scientific research, especially in the fields of climatology, human behavior, and environmental studies. Climate change research. Some theories suggest that the disappearance of the village may have been the result of an unusual climate change. Scientists have begun to study the effects of climate change in the Arctic region and the possibility that sudden climate changes could cause strange phenomena, including the disappearance of people. These studies expand our understanding of how the natural environment can influence human behavior and the survival of communities. Human behavior in crisis response research. Another prominent line of research is the study of human behavior in the face of crisis. Could the people of Angikuni have left the village because of some traumatic event, or could they have been affected by unexplained psychological factors? This story has prompted researchers to learn more about psychological reactions in unusual situations when people are faced with an incomprehensible event. 3. Angikuni and its impact on UFO and extraterrestrial studies. One of the areas that has had the most profound impact from the Angikuni story is the study of UFOs and extraterrestrials. The story of a village that disappeared without a trace, without warning, and reports of strange phenomena have created a strong stream of discussion in the UFO research community, sparking interest in UFO phenomena. Certainly, the Angikuni story has sparked a great deal of interest in traces of UFOs and extraterrestrials in the reports and theories about the disappearance. Many have mentioned the possibility that UFO sightings caused the disappearance of this village. UFO researchers have tried to understand these phenomena and consider whether there could be a connection between these strange events and the extraterrestrial beings, exploring strange disappearances related to UFOs. One of the important studies initiated was the search for a connection between the disappearance of Angikuni and other strange disappearances throughout history. UFO researchers have noticed some common denominators in these disappearances, including strange signs of light, radio signals, and sudden disappearances of people. 4. Angikuni's lasting impact on paranormal studies. Angikuni's impact goes beyond just stimulating curiosity and exploring mysteries. It also provides important lessons about the uncertainty of the world around us. Every mystery like Angikuni opens a new door to understanding the unexplained. In the future, there may be new explorations and studies that lead us further into unexplored lands. Provisional conclusion. The story of Angikuni continues to live on in the hearts of researchers and paranormal enthusiasts. While the disappearance of the village remains unsolved, its impact has and will continue to influence research in many fields. From paranormal phenomena, UFOs, to changes in the natural environment and human behavior. Angikuni is a great symbol of the unexplained, but also a powerful reminder that there is much more to this universe than we understand. So where does this story go? Will there be some future discovery that will help us solve this mystery? Continue your journey in Chapter 15, Angikuni's future predictions and new findings, to explore more of the unexplored possibilities. Chapter 15, Predictions about the future of Angikuni and new discoveries. The story of Angikuni Village has not only left its mark on paranormal research, but it has also opened a wide door for predictions and speculations about what might happen next. Will we ever discover the secrets that have been buried for decades? What new discoveries can shed light on the questions that science and paranormal have raised? In this chapter, we will explore predictions about the future of the Angikuni disappearance and explore new possibilities that could lead to miraculous discoveries about the disappearance of the village and its people. 1. Modern research can unravel the mystery. With the rapid development of scientific and technical technologies, researchers can now use new tools and methods to decode the mysteries surrounding the disappearance of Angikuni Village. Some of the tools that scientists can use today include seismic technology, ground-penetrating radar scanning, and DNA analysis from remaining sites, if found. Seismic technology and ground-penetrating radar. Today, seismic technology can help researchers explore hard-to-reach areas and identify unusual features underground. The use of ground-penetrating radar, GPR, can provide clear images of what lies below the surface, helping scientists determine if there are buried sites from the Angikuni village. DNA discovery and ancient sites. One important line of research is the search for DNA left from missing people or from the traces they left behind. If biological samples from the Angikuni area can be found, researchers can analyze them to learn about the origins of the village's inhabitants and even find previously unknown traces of ancient civilizations. 2. Discussions about the involvement of supernatural factors. One of the hypotheses that has never stopped being discussed is the involvement of supernatural factors in the disappearance of the village. Although there is no scientific evidence to confirm this, believers in paranormal research have not stopped making predictions about the appearance of supernatural phenomena. Strange phenomena in the area. There are many stories passed down by word of mouth that the area around Angikuni often has strange phenomena such as unusual lights, strong electromagnetic waves, and even difficult-to-explain space-time phenomena. Paranormal researchers believe that the village may have become a special energy zone where physical phenomena beyond human understanding occur. The space-time rift hypothesis. A controversial but intriguing hypothesis is the space-time rift. Some researchers believe that Angikuni village may have been swept away by a supernatural force or even a space-time rift, causing the villagers to disappear completely without a trace. Space agencies and space researchers are considering the possibility that the area may be an anomalous zone where the laws of physics do not operate as they should. 3. Angikuni in UFO and extraterrestrial studies. With the resurgence of interest in UFOs in recent years, many people continue to search for a connection between Angikuni's disappearance and the presence of extraterrestrials. Reports of UFOs in the area near Angikuni remain a major part of these discussions. UFO sightings in the area. There have been a number of unverified but notable reports of UFO sightings in the skies above Angikuni in the years leading up to the disappearance. Stories of strange lights in the sky and unusual radio signals seem to accompany the disappearance. New UFO discoveries may be a factor in further expanding the theories of the village being interfered with or even taken away by extraterrestrials. Exploring radio phenomena and anomalous signals. Another aspect of UFO studies is radio signals. Strange radio signals from the Angikuni area may have been detected over the years. Some UFO researchers believe that these signals may be part of extraterrestrial communication, which may be related to the disappearance of the village. For predictions about the future, Angikuni is more than just a mystery. Although we have not been able to determine exactly what happened to the Angikuni village and what happened, the story of its disappearance will certainly continue to stimulate the search of scientists and researchers in many different fields. New discoveries, whether scientific or paranormal, may open up new possibilities. Open the door to help us understand more about the unsolved mysteries of the past. Perhaps one day, as technology and research advance, the secrets of the village will be fully revealed, or at least we will have a new perspective on this strange disappearance. But until then, Angikuni remains one of the world's greatest paranormal mysteries, always inviting exploration and decoding. Conclusion: certainly, the story of Angikuni will live on, not only in paranormal research, but also in scientific research on unexplained phenomena. Theories and predictions about the future will continue to maintain the allure of this village, opening up new possibilities for us to continue to find solutions to one of the world's greatest mysteries.